Hey YouTube, I wanted to share with you quickly a couple of things that I learned in a lesson a few weeks ago, and these things are on the topic of tongue, articulation, and arm movement. So while I was playing this lesson, I found out through the hard way, a teacher telling me to my face, great, I found out that sometimes my arm and my tongue were not perfectly coordinated, and that sometimes my tongue was too early and it was cutting off the airstream, or my tongue was too heavy. I was using too much tongue to articulate a note, and it was cutting off the airstream, boom, and getting sucked into my teeth. And when this happens, it sounds really bad. And I'll show you. You hear that popping sound? We don't want that at all, unless we're playing jazz or pop or something commercial where we need to cut off a note really hard. We want to avoid that, especially in a very fast and technical passage. If you do that for every note, it starts to sound really choppy and really, it just sounds bad, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate this a couple more times. And now let me show you what it's supposed to sound like. And this took me a while to achieve, okay? So don't be discouraged if you sound like the bad example and you're having trouble sounding like a better example. Okay, it took me a long time to get there. And the way I achieved that is by putting a metronome on and just doing it, okay? Using as little tongue as possible. And I also changed where in my face I was tonguing. So before I was tonguing sometimes against the teeth with the tip of my tongue, and that ended up being too much because the rest of my tongue was getting in the way, cutting off the airflow, and then my tongue stopped the airflow completely. It got sucked into my teeth, and it made that stupid little sound. And so it took me a while of figuring out I can't tongue with the tip of my tongue, me personally. Maybe not you, okay? This isn't one size fits all. Me, I personally have a really tough time articulating with the tip of my tongue without cutting off the air supply. I have to use like a little bit further back, maybe the forward third of my tongue, if you can think of it like that. And it also needs to be more on the roof of my mouth and less against the teeth. Again, because with me and my tongue, I was just cutting off the air supply. So try it and play around with how you have to articulate, okay? And you may find that one way is less effective than the other, or it's sloppier than the other. So let me show you a good way to practice this and get it into a rotation. So, as humbling as that lesson was, I had to start with just a metronome and no instrument. So I started with whatever 85 beats per minute, and I just tongued with my air here. And this doesn't have to be, beautiful. Again, we want to use a similar technique that we use on the horn because it's going to carry over. So try to be as clean as possible and really focus on hitting that tongue exactly when that beat hits. Because if you're too early, like I was sometimes, your tongue is there for too long. And when it's there, it cuts off the air supply because the tongue bounces off the airstream and that creates articulation, okay? The tongue doesn't start an articulation. It just bounces off the air and it creates clarity for us. So I did that at quarter notes and then I moved on to eighth notes. And then I put the horn to my face and I did quarter notes. You'll notice sometimes it still sounds a little heavy, and it's something that I'm constantly having to work on. So it's going to take time, okay? If it's not perfect within 10 minutes of doing this exercise, that's okay, man. Just keep trying. Keep going. Do this every day for 5 minutes. That's really all it takes. And there's already a big improvement from 2 weeks ago when I started doing this exercise. Massive improvement. Because beforehand, it was this every time. And it was really frustrating. So just keep at it. So next, after we've done quarter notes and eighth notes with the horn and with a metronome, we're going to switch to moving the slide around. So I'm going to change. I'm going to go out to third position, going to go out to second position and back, out to fourth, to fifth. And we're going to practice really good coordination with the arm and the tongue, because that may not be something that comes up in your lessons a lot, but it came up in my lesson, this recent lesson. And it's really important, because if they're not in time, if they're not coordinated, then you sound really sloppy. And it's impossible for you to play cleanly, because the arm is not where it's supposed to be by the time you articulate a note. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. Whoops. Okay, so really pay attention to your slide and get that as clean and as coordinated as you can. And keep going. Go out to sixth position. Go out to seventh position if you can. I would start a little slower. Maybe don't do eighth notes and 16th notes trying to get out there. Just do quarter notes and get it really clean. And obviously we don't have any buzz, so we don't know if we're playing in the perfect slide positions or with clear, perfect intonation. But do your best to guesstimate where the slide should be before you articulate, and try to do your best to line it up. And then maybe the next step for you and for me is to play the actual horn. So it sounds really annoying and really dumb and a very, very basic exercise, but those kinds of exercises for me have been the most fruitful in I'm trying to get the sun out of my eye. Those have been really helpful exercises for me. So here's what the next step for me looks like. All right, and those are my first notes of the day. No BS. I haven't played any notes, but it's coordinated. It's so much better than it used to be. So give this a shot. Do this 5 minutes maximum of a day, okay? This video is 10 minutes long because I'm explaining it to you. But if you just sit down and you do this, you start with only the tongue and the metronome, and then you do just the horn, no buzz, no slide movement, and then you move on to some slow, very deliberate slide movement, very clean, very quick and precise. You're going to blow through this exercise in 5 minutes, and if you're struggling on a technical passage, just put the metronome on, do just the air, get the slide and the tongue coordinated, play the passage, and it's going to be so clean. It's going to be so much better. So stick with this exercise, give it a shot for a couple weeks, and let me know in the comments if it's helpful and if it's done something for you. Or let me know if you have a different exercise and send me audio or video or a very detailed text explanation of what you're doing, because maybe it'll help me. I would love to be helped. I need every lesson and every bit of advice I can get because I want to get as good as I can, okay? I'm still doing all this audition stuff and it's brutal, okay? It's a competitive world out there. So whatever it takes to get better, we got to do it. That's why I'm happy to share this information with you, okay? I'm not so competitive that I want all my other trombone peers to fail in their auditions. That's really mean to think about. But if there's students out there or other professional, semi-professional players like me and they need some tips, I'm happy to share what has helped me learn because it might help somebody else. And, maybe some good karma will come around and give me a little high five. That would be cool. But in the meantime, I'm happy to share tips with you and I'm happy to get tips from you. So please, let's communicate and let's get this going. Anyway, happy practicing and please let me know if this helps you.